My name's Guy Kestevan, and I've been a professional mountain bike and kit tester for nearly 28 years. And this is Schwalbe Racing Ralph, which I think is the best rear tyre for fast XC riding most of the year round. So what are the details of the tyre? Why am I saying that? And then hang around to the end to get a verdict on whether I think it'll suit you or not. So Racing Ralph has been in the Schwalbe lineup for a long old time, but recently it had a complete overhaul in terms of the tread pattern. It used to be basically a semi-slick with little low sort of diamond knobs in the centre, but this latest revamp moves it to what's essentially a paddle tread, really. I mean, it's a very small siped paddle tread, but it's quite interesting that they've gone with this paddle design rather than sort of centre strip, which is what most of the competing tyres in this category, or even a file tread, which is where it comes from. But, so you'd think this would be a relatively slow rolling tyre in terms of tread. But the big thing here isn't so much the tread pattern as the carcass. But we'll get onto that in a minute when I've finished talking about the tread. And you can see that whole lateral design goes all the way to these side knobs and intermediate knobs here. So again, you've got quite a flexible sipes knob there. Sipes means it's got those little stripes on the top there. It just helps the tyre kind of micro grip on harder surfaces. But you can see it's very much a lateral tyre, and that's because this is designed specifically as a rear tyre. I mean, you can use it on the front, but, you know, Schwalbe deliberately introduced the Racing Ray as the front tyre sort of partner for the Racing Ralph. And as you can see, that's a much more sort of inline, centre line steering tread, whereas this is your braking and powering tread. I'll do a separate video on this, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. But back to the Racing Ralph. This is, you can just about see in places there, it's still got the red stripe of the Addicts Speed version. That's the hardest, fastest rolling of the Schwalbe Addicts compounds. They do Addicts Speed Grip as well, but if you're going for maximum speed, then speed's obviously the one to go for, and it also gives you the best longevity. See, it's getting a little bit worn in places because these are relatively small knobs, but it's had a hard life as this. I've been ragging it for the best part of a year, and yeah, I mean, the treads, there's no tread ripping, and it's certainly not worn down. It's still very much a usable tyre. And what's interesting, again, you can see, if we just flip it around, carcass is looking a little bit tired in places. You can see it's peeling off the label there. There's some stress marks where the, where it's been rubbed on rocks, a bit split there. And you can see the carcass is actually starting to show through there. I mean, that's generally a sign that the tyre's been heavily torqued, either braking or pedalling, often at low pressures. And the underlying carcass starts to just break through this, what they call a transparent wall. I mean, it's what most people call a brown wall, but what they call transparent wall Schwalbe. And it does come in a black wall as well, and it comes in a ton of sizes, and I'll list those in a caption up the side now. But basically, if you're still running 26, or you've got a junior rider or a youth rider or even a kid who wants a fast tyre, Schwalbe are very, very good at doing a very wide range of like 26, 27.5 and several 29er sizes. This is the 29 by 2.35, and it blows up. It actually blows up to about 58 mil at 20 psi and 30 mil internal rim. So that's not bad. I mean, it's about 2.3, but that's actually wider than something like a Maxxis 2.4. There's only really Vittoria and Pirelli who come up pretty much true to size. So yeah, having a 2.3 inch tyre label with a 2.35 isn't that bad. And it also means it'll fit into bikes with a bit more restricted tyre clearance on it as well. But, so we've talked about tread compound, we've talked about the tread design, but the real win here is what they call the Super Race carcass. Not a huge amount of detail about it going about Schwalbe, like the rubber compound itself, whether it's a dual or a triple compound or a single compound. They keep that close to their chest. It's one of their industry secrets, fair enough. They don't want everybody to know. But Super Race is actually a road-derived carcass. Very, very supple, multi-layer carcass with more plies on the side than there are at the top, which gives it a really, really supple, floated feel. and it's also got a tiny bit of protection down on the bead wall there, and a very narrow puncture strip under the top of the tread. But the most remarkable thing about it is just that incredible suppleness means it rolls beautifully. It's got a really lively, buoyant, kind of a live feel, but it doesn't ping all over the place. It really conforms nicely. So it's not ricocheting around, and it just feels, it feels fantastic. It adds a sort of extra level of comfort, which reduces fatigue over longer rides. But also, that sort of suppleness gives it this weird sort of Tai Chi ability to kind of move and dodge and basically escape situations that would probably rip or tear another tyre or pinch flat. So despite the fact there isn't actually much additional reinforcing in the carcass, it's proved really, really tough on all the Super Race tyres that I've been running this summer and over winter. I've just been really, really impressed. And it applies to the gravel tyres as well. Again, they're really, really supple, really, really fluid, and yet remarkably survivable as well. It is relatively heavy. It's 747 grams for this particular one, so around 750 grams, which again is kind of ballpark for a modern, larger volume XC tyre, but obviously it's not as light as something like Specialized Renegade S-Works, which is around 590 grams. So if you're massively concentrating on the grams and you want that real pop acceleration, then look at, there are lighter tyres out there. And the smaller volume 29er tyres on this Racing Ralph are also a lot lighter. But for me, for general use, and even for racing, on tougher courses, I don't race anymore, but for riding hard and racing with mates on tougher courses, that bit of extra weight goes a long way in terms of survivability and durability. And it means the tyre is very stable through a wide range of pressures as well. So you can run this in the mid-20s if you like that hard, tight, skippy feel, or you can run it in mid-teens if you really want to get it sunk into the trail, really gripping and flowing nicely. So, verdict, who do I think this tyre would suit? Well, I've already said it's faster, significantly faster. It's a proper extra gear tyre, like a true semi-slick, but with that extra braking and driving grip from these little paddle treads. It's not the greatest edging tyre, because obviously that sort of transverse tread tends to slip outwards rather than a blockier tread. So you'll get more bite in softer conditions with something like a Rocket Ron. But because those side knobs are exactly the same, basically exactly the same as the Racing Ray, it's a very, very balanced feel front to rear. You'll find the bike's more upright, it'll step out more easily, which is fine. It kind of gives you a sort of speedway style safety fuse if you run the Racing Ray on the front. But once both tyres are leaned over, there's actually a really good grip. And again, because they're pedals like that, you've still got really good braking and driving grip when you're leant over. So as a combination, I think they're pretty much unbeatable as an all-round speed tyre, because you can actually get good purchase even out of sort of mud and grass, classic dirty sort of cross-country conditions here in Britain, and loose loam with this tyre, because it's got that additional tread compared to a semi-slick, but it still gives you that same level of extra gear rolling speed. Obviously, it's a top-of-the-range tyre, so it is on the expensive tyres. There is a performance range as well, similar tyre, same tread, but not as good. Well, but sort of stiffer, not as pliable carcass, so they don't feel quite as good, but they are more affordable. Still a decent tyre. But if you can afford it, this Super Race in this Addict Speed compound, I would have to say is my favourite all-round UK speed tyre. So that's my opinion anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments, because obviously tyres are quite a personal thing, and from the other tyre reviews I've done, it's great to have you guys on board giving your feedback so people can read through the whole comments thread and go, this bloke sounds, this person sounds like they ride in a similar area to me, or like a tyre that performs similarly to I do. And, you're adding your experience to my experience, and everybody then gets a better review as a result. But, there you go, basically. So, overall verdict on the Schwalbe Racing Ralph Super Race It's expensive, it's not the lightest in the category, and it's not quite the fastest rolling on hard pack surfaces, roads, things like that. Because you do get a little bit of buzz from that tread in the centre compared to a pure semi-slick or even a harder compound tyre. But off-road, the flow, the suppleness, the ground connection, and just that amazingly buoyant go faster feel that this Super Race carcass gives is pretty much unmatched from any other tyre brand. Plus, remarkably survivable just because it is so pliable. And that little amount of centre tread really does give it an advantage in a much wider range of conditions than you might expect. This on the back and then Racing Ray on the front is definitely my favourite current money no object UK speed tyre combination. So massive thanks to Schwalbe for sending them in. Like I say, I'll be talking about the Rocket Ron and the Racing Ray tyres, so there'll be separate videos. And then as we're moving into the wetter, kind of heavier hitting time of the year, I'll also be reviewing the latest Nobby Nick and Wicked Will tyres from Schwalbe as well. So make sure you click for notifications to know when those tyres are coming on screen, and subscribe to the channel, because that way you'll know exactly what's coming up. Plus, it's a big bonus when it comes to YouTube sharing the video to more people. Watch to the end if you can, because there you'll also find click-through links for the other tyres. You'll find a link through to Patreon subscription, which is how you can basically pledge me a cup of tea and a biscuit per month, and that gets you early exclusive and behind-the-scenes edits as a thank you, and all of those are ad-free. And if you could just give this video, and even if you can't afford that at the moment, then please give this video a thumbs up like. And again, that's a big tick in the YouTube algorithm box. Oh, and massive thanks to my industry sponsors as well, who'll be listed at the end. And if you could support those guys when you're shopping for bike kit, then they can continue to support me and you get more videos. So everybody's happy. But for now, I've been Guy Kestevan on Guy Kes TV talking about the Schwalbe Racing Ralph. An absolute classic rear tyre, and even better in its latest updated version.